Eagles Talk A2D Radio. We are talking X factors for the Eagles offense this week. And we're also going to talk about uniform combos, which ones are our favorite, and which ones we want to see back, all with us for the next hour. Let's go.
You love the Eagles, let me get a hell yeah! You love the Philadelphia Eagles, let me get a hell yeah! Philadelphia!
Eagles Talk A2D Radio. We are brought to you by Baggio's Bread, located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, home of the best stuffed breads, tomato pie, sandwiches, cutlets, and meatballs. Mention A2D Radio for 10% off your in-store purchase. It's your boy Chucks once again with Brinks and PY. Gentlemen, how you doing? What's going on?
Doing good. Ready to talk some football. We got camps opening up in a couple of days here, a couple of them. So
yeah, I think Ravens started reporting today, right?
Ravens, Bears are really soon.
Trying to beat that heat.
Trying to beat the heat. Yeah, like it's really exciting. Like I think the Eagles don't the Eagles report next week?
1 week, yeah.
1 week, yeah. So
yeah, today's Monday, a week from today.
So, gentlemen, we got the tough part of summer. We've got through it for the most part. We got like a couple more weeks for
time to track Jalen Hurts' balls. Let's go. Woohoo.
I'm excited for it.
He missed 2 passes. Yeah. I think we need to look into the backup quarterback situation.
Football can't get here soon enough, so I'm excited. So, we've got Eagles X factors on offense this week. We talked about the defense a couple weeks ago, so let's talk about the offensive side. Who's going to be the real difference maker in determining the Eagles' success or failure this season? And our poll question for tonight: Cam Jurgens is the Eagles' biggest X factor on offense this season. Agree or disagree? Brinks, let's lead off with you. Is Cam Jurgens the biggest deciding factor out of everyone on offense? Like, is his performance going to determine success or failure?
No, not at all. He's going to be fine. He's not going to be Jason Kelce. He's going to be fine. But if he's not fine, the Eagles still have a good chance. They'll figure something out, and they'll still be a really good football team. If Jalen Hurts isn't good, this team's not going to be a good football team. It's a quarterback league. Jalen, I wasn't pleased with him last year. I thought he had a way worse season than everyone is making it out to be. He needs to bounce back. He needs to bounce back, and he has all the tools to do so. There's no crutch in blaming the coaching staff because these coaches have been praised to high heaven by people like us the entire offseason. Like, Jalen Hurts is an MVP candidate, then the Eagles are probably not going to get to where they want to go, which is deep into January, February, and win a championship. So all due respect to Cam Jurgens, like, a center is not the deciding factor on if your football team is going to have success. It's your quarterback. It's a quarterback league. It's the most important position in sports. Jalen Hurts is the biggest X factor, period.
PY.
Except he's not. It is Jurgens. Like, I understand people want to say it's Jalen, and I do get that. But, like, he was a top – in every metric last year, he was a top 10 quarterback. Like I know what I'm getting out of Jalen Hurts. One thing that we've seen in the last few years is how important Jason Kelce is and how important the center position is and how important having someone who's going to be able to have those blocks upfield and call the plays on offense and how important that is. Like, I understand people who are going to say it's Jalen Hurts, but I think it's Cam Jurgens because this is the first time in a decade where your center is not Jason Kelce. Jason Kelce is not coming through that tunnel. As much as people want to put their pom-poms up in the air and they're like, oh, he's going to be ready. No, he's done. He's getting drunk in Sea Isle every week right now. Like, he's living his life. He's going to Taylor Swift concerts. He's doing the podcast, which is great. God bless him. Let him have his fun. Like, it's Cam Jurgens' team right now. Like, this is who you have going forward. Like if Cam Jurgens is not good, there's a large hole at the center position, and the center position has been one of the most important roles on the offense for the Eagles for a very long time, especially in the Stoutland era. So as of right now, he's my biggest X factor.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and agree to the poll as well. I think it's Cam Jurgens, and we have to look at like the definition of X factor. Like it's like it's about variance, like a variable that will offer the biggest swing in determination of or determining pretty much failure and success, right? And it's like what do it? There's a level of uncertainty that goes into determining an X factor, right? So with Jalen Hurts, I get like I've said also that he regressed a little bit in 2023. So I hear you on that, Brinks. He did regress, and like there were some habits from before 2022 that started to come up. So he definitely has to step up again and get better. But I think at the same time, we know that even with everything that happened during the collapse, he's still a good quarterback. That's the thing. Like even with the bad year that he had last year, a lot of the issues we've discussed are schematic issues. So if we're going to assume that Kellen Moore is going to fix a lot of those schematic issues, then it's safe to say Jalen Hurts is at least going to be good. So like I don't think there's much variance there in terms of what Jalen Hurts is going to bring. At worst, I think he's still going to be a good quarterback. So with setting on him, I think that you look at Cam Jurgens, and I have faith in Cam Jurgens, but I think what the question mark and the unknown is the fact that he's moving from right guard, where he played really well last year. He played really well at right guard, but now he's moving to center, and he's going to replace arguably like the top 2 or top 3 Eagle of all time. So that's a tall task, and I don't think anyone's expecting him to completely replace him or be Jason Kelce right off the bat. But the unknown is the fact that we don't know how good he's going to be. Like we don't know if he's going to step in and be like a near all pro caliber player from the start, or if he's going to struggle for a little bit because there's a lot of responsibility on the center position compared to right guard. So there's a lot of mental stuff. He's a lot of the pre-snap stuff he's got to be on page with Jalen Hurts with. So a lot of stuff he's going to have to pick up compared to last year. It's going to be a lot on his plate. So that's the biggest just question mark. I'm not even going to say concern, but the question mark, and that's where the variance comes in. And that's why I think he's the biggest X factor, because depending on what we get from him, that is going to be really impactful in how this offense goes from where it was with Kelce last year and all years prior to how high we can get. We're talking Super Bowl, right? But if our center is not holding up, and there's a lot of things that he's not on the same page with Hurts on, that's going to get in the way of a lot of things. So I've got Cam Jurgens too as the biggest X factor. I think there's a lot of things you can point to. I think that you can look at Jalen Hurts as one of them, because like we said, it's a matter of what type of Hurts are we going to get. Are we going to get MVP caliber Hurts? Or are we going to get the Hurts that kind of struggled and plateaued? So I think it would be understandable to point to him as a X factor. I just don't think he's the biggest, because I think that we already know at least what he is at worst. So that's what I think. To get into the comments, we've got John Mama says, we agree on something, Chucks. Football can't get here soon enough. Andrew Baker says, Oracles Hurts, Moore, and then Saquon. Daly says, I'm going to disagree to the poll. I believe Kelsey can pick this dude. Gives me faith that he's going to be a good player in the NFL. Malma says, setting my sights on Hurts and Davis. I don't know how many times I've said that build the big leads, run the ball second half, turn Barkley loose in the third and fourth quarter. Matthew Walsh says, if Jurgens can't stay healthy, we're in big trouble. I mean, that goes with it with a lot of people. Jalen has to Daly says Jalen has to be X factor. This team is going to succeed or fail with him behind center. He left a lot to be desired in the second half of the season. He has something to prove next season. So Daly agrees with you, Brinks. Andrew Baker says, honestly, the X factor this year is the defense. They were bad all last year, and the last month of the season, they were statistically the worst defense in football.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about offense, Andrew, but I hear you on that. I definitely hear you on that. But a couple of weeks ago, we talked about X factors on defense, and now we're switching to offense. Malmus also says, Hurts needs a big year, but so does Jordan Davis. Putting him next to Carter has the same potential of being the most dominant tandem interior D line. Yeah, I hear you, Malmus. Again, we're talking about offense this week. We addressed defense a couple weeks ago. Daly also says we just have to not hold Jurgens to the level and expectations that Kelsey was held to. So yeah, that's pretty fair. I'm pretty sure that no one is saying he's going to be Kelsey, but he's got to perform at a high level. Definitely has to perform at a high level. What other X factors? So we talked about Hurts. I think is an acceptable answer. We talked about Jurgens. So me and PY agree that we think Jurgens is the biggest one. What other ones do you guys think would come to mind as X factors? PY.
Wide receiver 3.
Okay.
And what you can expect from that group, like whether or not A, the person is actually there, B, if any of the rookies are going to be able to step up, and if Paris Campbell or any other the guys on the roster are actually going to make any plays for you. Like you got pretty much nothing out of wide receiver 3 last year. Like Quez Watkins gave you absolutely nothing. Couldn't be trusted. Can't even read his blocks correctly. Like it was pretty bad.
Brinks.
I mean, Dallas Goedert's the third best pass catcher on the team, so I'm going to go with him. He's an X factor. Kellen Moore needs to get him involved, and it's not really like a stat thing for me with Dallas Goedert or the third wide receiver. They just need to be good enough and competent enough to take some pressure off your quarterback and the 2 wide receivers that every offensive coordinator is going to be losing sleep over going into a game against Philadelphia next year. Goddard, he kind of got lost in the shovel, whether that was bad coaching. I know he got hurt. He broke his something and missed about 6 weeks. When he came back, not really a factor. So, I mean, he's your third best pass catcher by a mile. So, I mean, they need to figure out how to get him involved. And Kellen Moore's been good with that over his career. He did a good job in Dallas.
Yep.
The Chargers, they always had Gerald Everett and like a kind of a kid, not really the most talented group, but they still got stuff out of them. So yeah, I would say Dallas Goedert needs to have a bigger role this season. But there's only one football, so
yeah, so but you know what helps Dallas Goedert be involved? Being on the field. Like when he was getting involved last season, it was going well for him until he got hurt. Like he was finding his groove in the offense, and then he went down.
He wasn't, but like remember the first few weeks though of the season, like they are having trouble getting him acclimated to the offense. So I mean, I do agree with Brinks there that I think that it's gonna be interesting. We're gonna need a big season out of Goddard too, in order to really untap this offense. I don't think that anyone would argue that he's the third best receiver on this football team. I mean, you can argue, I guess, like Saquon, but I mean, Saquon's one of the best pass catching running backs in the league. But I mean, Goddard is like one of the best tight ends. I mean, I think it's Goddard in terms of receiving options, but in terms of overall skill position weapons, I think Saquon does surpass Goddard. But if we're just talking about receiving specifically, then I think it's Goddard. So
by having
go ahead.
Yeah, I think by having Saquon there and him being a threat in the passing game is gonna help Goddard, especially when it comes to the screen game, especially like when you have to pay attention to Saquon as a pass catcher. Like it's not gonna be like, oh, Devontae and AJ are covered. They're just gonna throw it to Dallas Goedert. No, Saquon is right there. He's gonna be available. He could be in the flat. He could be up the seam. Like he could
Yeah,
be all over this place, and they're not going to be able to cover everyone.
It's a pick your poison kind of offense because every single the top 4 options are arguably Pro Bowl caliber weapons or better. So I mean, I definitely hear that. I think that each week it's going to be a matter of like who's going to be
Who's the hot hand, baby.
The hot hand. As far as I know, you mentioned, I'll talk about my other X factors later. But I do want to say you said wide receiver 3.
Yep.
The reason why I don't think wide receiver 3 is going to I wouldn't look at wide receiver 3 as an X factor per se, because if you look at Quez Watkins, right, who was pretty much we agree, like he in years past he's been our wide receiver 3. The year we went to the Super Bowl, he only had 51 targets on the season, and that's an average. If you do for the regular season only, that's 3 targets a game. Like I don't think 3 targets a game is going to make. I mean, in certain moments, yeah, you need them, but I would list a lot of other things and other players over a wide receiver 3. So I think that, we do need someone to step up and be that so they can make plays when called upon, but I don't think it's that impactful enough for me to say it's an X factor. But I mean, I understand the argument there because we need someone to be better than Quez Watkins was, because the few times we did throw to Quez Watkins, he didn't come up and he didn't make a play. So I hear you on that. So let's bring in Les. It's time for Bill. Les, how you doing?
How do you do, fellow kids?
Doing well. Doing very, very well. It feels nice to be called
I
kid.
understand that meme.
Yes.
Usually I'm one
I
of
don't
the
have a backwards baseball cap or a ski
Okay,
mask.
Les.
So yeah, we're talking X factors, Les, and our poll
Yes.
question, as you can see at the bottom, Cam Jurgens is the Eagles' biggest X factor on offense this season. What do you think when it comes to him?
Well, first let me say, technically, Jalen Hurts is the biggest X factor, given how things went last season and given the new offense and all that stuff. I think, the biggest question is how he's going to be this year. If he's good, then everything else is kind of going to be all right, I think. But we've talked about that, and that talking about Jalen Hurts at this point is kind of they're not that productive. We've said it all. But so once you make that qualification, I'd say Cam Jurgens after Hurts is the biggest X factor on the offense because of the guy that he's succeeding. I don't have much doubt that Cam Jurgens can be a competent NFL center. He was a competent guard last year. He was drafted in the 2nd round. He can do the job, but he's coming in for somebody who I think will be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Certainly will be in the Eagles Hall of Fame, and is an incredible icon, leader, spokesman, all that good stuff. He's got a lot to. He doesn't have to fill all of those roles right away, but we're going to notice if any of it drops off.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, he's got big. That's not an enviable position. And so rarely do teams in any sport replace a guy who's like an all-time great with somebody that good. And I think I talked about that on here before. It's just everybody always has a plan for succession of
doesn't always work.
Player, but when you get down to it, look at it 10 years later, was the guy that they were hoping for really, what the previous guy was? Almost always not. Unless you're a Green Bay Packers quarterback or something. That's really how sports works. The next Sixers center won't be as good as Joel Embiid.
No.
So it will, that you're right. He's a big X factor. I think he'll be good, but whether he's better than good is a real good question. And also health is a little bit of a question with that guy. He's been dinged up a bit here his first couple seasons. He's not a huge guy. Kelsey wasn't a huge guy. Kelsey had a bad injury right off the bat, like his 2nd or 3rd year. He missed most of the season. But then after that, he was phenomenal. It wasn't that he didn't get hurt. It's just that he never came off the field.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think I've mentioned the year that he's played at least half the season. He had some kind of bursa sac problem behind his knee, so that one entire leg was black and blue all the way up and down.
Oh
It
my.
looked horrible, but and there's some guys that can do that, and some guys can't, and I don't really advocate doing that because you can end up crippled later in life. But John Runyon was a guy like that who would play the whole year with a broken whatever, tailbone, I think, one year.
Slipped in that hot tub.
That's nuts. You have to be a psycho to do that. I certainly couldn't. And we'll see about Cam Jurgens, But yeah, he's a huge X factor, no doubt about it.
Yeah, not to go off too much of a tangent, but I just finished watching Receiver on Netflix, and like those injuries that like Amon-Ra St. Brown and Devontae Adams were playing with the whole year, like I'm thinking like, geez, like these, and I know they're not the only two. I mean, there are a lot of, like you just said, Kelsey. I mean, always playing with injuries, but like that, and people always talk about, players, teams have to be healthy, and players, durability is a big thing. Like, I don't like. Les, correct me if I'm wrong. I think that every single player is dealing with injuries by the time it gets to the end of the season. It's just a matter of, are they playing with it, and how severe is it? Is it hampering them enough to not perform, be on the field? So I think like everyone's banged up, and I always, when I hear stories about that, it's like, my hat's off to those guys. Like
that's the thing with football. It's unique. Well, hockey is a little bit like it. It very, very physical game. But with hockey, you've got enough games that if you really do have an injury, like an ankle or something, you can take a few weeks off, and it's not much of the season that you've missed. In football, taking a month off is a big deal. And it's, it's not like it used to be when they used to just, Toradol was the painkiller that, they would just shoot guys up and send them out there with, ripped up groins and shoulders that didn't work and all kinds of that. You don't see as much of that anymore. I don't think.
It's crazy how things have changed. I was watching a Football Life today about the '93 Oilers. Yeah, that was just the one guy, I forget his name. He left. He missed a game because his kid had a baby, or like his wife had a baby. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Got shredded.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Shredded.
Yeah, I remember when I was covering hockey that back in that era. Keith Acton was a Flyers player, a kind of famous player. He wasn't a great scorer, but he was a great defensive player, later became a coach. And they were playing the Rangers in New York, and his wife was having twins. And I was kind of commiserating with him in the locker room. I was like, oh, geez, we just had a kid. It's if you can't be there, that's just really, really awful, Keith. I'm so sorry that they couldn't, let you go down from New York to see your. He says, "You're assuming I wanted to be there."
I can't. Oh my God, I can't. Oh, but yeah, like missing time is a crazy thing for football players nowadays. Looking at other X factors, I know PY mentioned wide receiver 3. Brinks mentioned Goddard. Yeah. I wanted to also say like an X factor. I mean, it's not a player, so maybe I'm cheating, but like I think the big X factor is Kellen Moore in his system.
Oh yeah.
Is that going to fix everything?
Huge. And how that works with Sirianni.
Yes.
I don't want to hijack this, but the print writers every year, when minicamp ends, do a sit down with Sirianni, which is much, much better than being up on a stage, because you're kind of in a circle and it's only 10, 12 people, and you can ask follow-up questions. You can ask long, sort of involved questions. You're not yelling over someone else to get your question in. And they do that, and then they wait. They hold it until today was actually the day that the embargo was lifted. It's so that guys and women will have pre-training camp stuff. Nick's out there on a desert island somewhere right now. He doesn't want to do interviews, but they do it in June and they embargo it until mid-July. And that was one of the big topics this year was how is this going to work with Nick and Kellen? And he made it pretty clear, Nick did, that he didn't enjoy, he says this is his idea and that he signed off on it, but he didn't want to give up his offense. Yeah, this was not his plan. Had they not set an NFL milestone by losing 6 out of 7 down the stretch, he would not be doing this. Nope. And so it's going to be real interesting. I'm real interested in how Kellen Moore approaches this. You know, he talks every week as the offensive coordinator. Is he going to be, you know, well, Nick told me maybe we should throw it to the tight end. And I said, by golly, Nick, that's what we'll do, you know, or is he going to take credit, you know, if things go well? I mean, there are all kinds of different variables there as to how are the players going to process this? Yeah. Are they going to process it as, you know, why is Nick here? You know, yeah. Or is it more like Nick is the guy setting all this up and making it, you know, having time to meet with players individually? That's something he mentioned, by the way. I don't know if you saw any of the stories written off of this today, but Nick mentioned that last year he was so involved in the offense that he couldn't find time to meet with a player who wanted to sit down with him. And I was like, what? He even said something like, I had to be the offensive coordinator. Well, you weren't the offensive coordinator. You had an offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
A good one.
I just, the kind of, you know, I wasn't in on the session. I'm just reading the transcript, you know, so I can't like say, what? Nick, you want to explain that to me? Yeah. But yeah, the whole Sirianni Kellen Moore thing is going to be fascinating to watch because Nick wasn't brought here to be a CEO coach. No. He was brought here because of his knowledge of offense. And the guys that are CEO coaches, how many of them are there? There's Harbaugh, there's
Tomlin. Trying to think of who else.
I'm sure the new Harbaugh is of that ilk.
Yeah. He is.
That's a Dan Campbell too, right? Like he would, I guess. Yeah.
Dan Campbell's a good one, yeah, because he's the only one. He was a tight end. Most of them are defensive guys. You know, most of the CEO type coaches are defensive guys, and the team runs their defense usually with a coordinator, you know, in place. And the coach is the CEO, and then people talk about it that way because he doesn't run the offense. But he's not. You know, Harbaugh was never an offensive guy.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, Tomlin was never an offensive guy. He was a safety. William and Mary. You know, it's going to be real. My point is, it's not a usual thing to have an offensive coach with an offensive system put his offensive system aside and hire somebody else to do that.
Les, how close do you think Nick Sirianni was to getting fired last year?
Oh, I think if he'd gone into that meeting and said, no, it's my system. Whoever we bring in is going to run my system. And I might take a few suggestions from him. I think it would have been just like Doug Peterson.
Yep.
Right.
So the difference maybe is that everybody knew what was going to happen with Doug, everybody around the team. Anyway, you know, it was pretty apparent that Doug didn't want to cede that responsibility to management. And I think management was a little surprised because they thought Doug would do whatever to keep his job, but he wasn't. He went into that meeting knowing he was gone, you know.
Yeah.
Nick saw what he had to do and did it. Whether he did it really, 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 you know, with his fingers crossed and his teeth gritted is one of the things we don't know.
So that actually, that kind of makes me respect Nick more because I see people talk about this all the time. Oh, we only did it to save his job. I'm like, yeah. But ego is a tricky thing. Yeah. You're trying to tell someone who is an NFL head coach to where you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in your ability and your ability to not only A, call plays, especially since he's an offensive-minded guy, and B, to lead men. And in order to do that, you're putting aside what you know in your heart is, I can do this no matter what, to save your job and be like, I'm man enough to admit I need some help, and I'll do what I have to do
for the better of the team.
Yeah, for the betterment of the team. Like, I've had arguments with people about this, and they're like, "Oh, he's just saving his job." Like, not everyone can do this. Like,
right.
I have a big
we'll
ego.
See if you're right. I think you probably are right, but it could be the other way. It could be just they made me do this, and I guess this is what we got to do now. If it doesn't work, I think we'll know that it was the second. I didn't want to do this in the first place. They made me do it. That kind of thing.
But my whole thing on that is, even if it was just him saying, "Oh, I'm going to do it," like, you can just say it, and they'll probably still fire you because they just don't believe you.
Yeah.
The level of commitment he had to show, not just Howie Roseman, but Jeffrey Lurie, that he was invested in enough in this decision moving forward for them to not fire him, when every media outlet was basically saying, all right, cool, who's the next Eagles head coach? Let's talk about Bill Belichick or any of the other guys.
Well, assuming that it was Nick who went to Kellen Moore and not Howie or Jeffrey, Nick could have tried to finesse this with some guy that he worked with the Colts, Mount Union or some, he could have said, here's my good friend so-and-so who's going to run the offense now. He didn't do that,
He did it with the DC.
Yeah.
I want to, before I want to elaborate on that. Before I do, just want to mention again, Baggio's Bread, located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, 10% off your in-store purchase if you mention ATD Radio. And also, remember, guys, hit the like, hit the subscribe button, and follow us. Get those notifications going. To piggyback off of that, like, I think it's really interesting too, because I tweeted this out, and some people thought it was a little bit silly to say, but I wonder if part of this, with hiring of Kellen Moore, bring him in, and because PY, based on what you said, he brought in, or I think Les, you brought it up, he handpicked Kellen Moore to be the guy. Kellen Moore's offense traditionally has been a lot different than what Nick Sirianni has done in his offensive philosophies, right? I wonder if part of this process and this understanding between all parties involved is that I wonder how much Nick is going to learn from Kellen to go forward. Because if Kellen, if this team is successful, say they hypothetically win the Super Bowl, and Kellen is a huge reason why, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure he's going to get a head coaching job somewhere.
Oh, yeah, without question.
If they win the Super Bowl, they're not going to fire Nick Sirianni, and then Nick Sirianni's going to be the thing. So, Kellen Moore would expectedly be a head coach elsewhere. However, I would think that part of this is a learning process for Nick too, to say, hey, what have I been missing?
Expand his
universe.
Nick isn't. Well, it's weird because Kellen Moore is much younger than even Nick. But Kellen Moore, by virtue of having played a long time in the league and been around, a lot, several teams, Nick, when Nick and his staff were hired, one of my quibbles was these were guys that 10 years earlier were fetching coffee. Nick was a wide receivers coach, and then very briefly an offensive coordinator, kind of working with the same people in San Diego and then in Indianapolis. And you can always use, that was something I thought Doug needed. Doug had always worked for Andy Reid, and he kind of needed to be exposed to some different ideas along the way. And I think that's very true of Nick as well.
Yeah. And a lot of people, like I said, when I said that, I know some people thought it was a little bit silly to think, but I just don't know, if you're a head coach and put in that position, why wouldn't you try to learn a little bit and try to improve it and take some of that stuff for the future? Because God knows, if you still are this coach for the next 5 years, you're going to have to take some of that offense control back. So I think
and if somebody does hire Kellen Moore after this season, what's Nick going to do then? I mean, he can't just go back to what he was doing before.
No,
exactly.
A real interesting situation would be if they are better, they win a playoff game or two. They don't win the Super Bowl, but that's enough to get Kellen Moore in the head coach conversation somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Then what happens? I mean, there's no scenario where Jeffrey Lurie says, wait a minute, we can't lose this guy. Nick.
Yeah.
Sure, Gus?
I can't imagine Lurie doing that, but
yeah, I can't imagine.
You can't.
It's got to be within the realm of possibility, though.
I mean, I'm sure it could, but once again, this is like what me and Chucks had kind of been talking about for like the last year or so, is that you're going into the 4th straight year with Nick Sirianni, and let's say he wins a playoff game or two. So for the 4th straight year, A, he's winning playoff games, and B, you're probably winning 10 plus games, and they probably win the division this year. Like, I just don't understand how you fire that guy and then bring in a new coach and expect him to look around.
It's very, very, very unlikely.
I don't know if my job is safe because that guy's job wasn't safe.
Yeah.
If there's a scenario where the offense is greatly, greatly, greatly improved, and it's not really clear that Nick had much to do with it. I mean, we've seen the Cowboys get in this situation a few times over the years where they had a great coordinator who left, and they kept the head coach, and it was like, it's just something to think about. It's very, very far-fetched, certainly.
Yeah, I hear you. And I think also part of it is going to be, I mean, the sentiment you have to take into account, like, because we can see certain things as a CEO and coach, like part of the decision making is game management, like game management, like game field management, but game management and like decision making in terms of in-game situations. Like, we know that Dan Campbell is a guy who's aggressive, is going to go for it on every 4th down. But before the collapse, we've also seen Nick Sirianni have that type of mentality and be pretty good with it. Know when and when not to go 4th down, be aggressive. He's also been really good with timeouts and time management and stuff like that. Like
I guess he still controls that kind of stuff, but that's something we'll have to see.
Yeah. And if he does a good job with it, that's going to help his case to keep the job. So I mean, that's going to be a factor in like how successful they are. So, that's just another thing to throw in there. And we won't know. Like you said, Les, we won't know until the games start going this season and we're in December and seeing how this team is gelling. There's a lot of I don't want to say concerns, but question marks.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. There's a lot of stuff has to come together here. We think the team is much better poised to make a long run, but there's a lot of stuff up in the air.
Yep. For you, Les, do you have, besides all the ones we had mentioned, is there anyone else on offense you think is an X factor going into the season?
Well, I don't know how important right guard is, but I expect it to be Becton because he did so well in the spring. I would not have thought that going into the spring. I thought he was just going to be a swing tackle. Yeah, because he'd never played guard in the NFL. And I just didn't think – I thought he was brought in as a tackle. They lost Driscoll. I thought they're looking at either Lane or Mailata possibly getting injured, and Becton's the guy there if that happens. And they've drafted Tyler Steen, but it looked like Becton really went out in spring and really, as much as you can. I mean, you're not hitting anybody, so, who knows? But Becton is a first-round quality prospect, which Tyler Steen was not. And Tyler Steen had a hell of a problem last year trying to transition from tackle to guard.
Yeah.
So I kind of think it's going to be Becton, and I think he's going to be good. But what happens if he's not, or if he gets hurt again or something like that? I don't know. It's an interesting position. It's not always an important position. When you have Brandon Brooks there, it's an important position. With Jurgens, it was kind of like, I thought Jurgens was the 5th of their 5 offensive linemen as a right guard, because he's not really a guard. He's a center. So we'll see if that's an upgrade, if Becton is an upgrade on what Jurgens was last year, or if they're searching for a solution there.
If Becton wins that right guard job, I'd say that's a huge pickup. That is a huge for Howie. Like just grabbing a guy off of what was it, free agent or waivers? I forget.
I have forgotten. It was Jets.
Yeah, I forget.
I think the Jets might have let him go because he was getting hurt, right?
So like just getting that guy just like that and then becoming your starting guard, because I know that he was available for a reason, obviously. Like was he healthy? Wasn't like he didn't pan out the way the Jets. So I get that, but if Stoutland is able to turn him into a starting guard, that's a huge win. I
got to think with Stoutland coaching, if Becton wants this to work, if he wants to do the work and have the right attitude, I mean, he has the talent, and he's going to get the coaching. That's the only X factor there. There have been guys.
The Jets.
Yeah, but there have been guys like Stout brought in Chance Warmack, who was also a high first-round pick.
Yeah, I remember that.
Chance Warmack was a guy who was just kind of happy to be in the locker room. He didn't really want to work too hard, or get in too good a shape. Stoutland couldn't do a whole lot with that. So it depends on Becton. If Becton shows the kind of attitude he showed this spring, I think they really did something good there.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear. And you bring some people. Any last questions for Les?
No, I'm good.
Good.
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I just one thing wrapping up. I think training camp, is coming up. I think it's going to be different this year. It's not going to be, people slamming into each other at 100 miles an hour and fights and stuff like that. But last year, Nick has run kind of low-key camps because he doesn't want to get people hurt, which is a very good idea. Last year was ridiculously so because they were coming off the Super Bowl, which was totally understandable.
Yeah.
Your season went on forever. You got guys that are still rehabbing, the whole spring was kind of I don't know if they went on the field very much in the spring, it was, and then training camp was kind of a tippy toe through. And when Nick talked about that with the print writers, he was saying, well, the way we did camp, it actually worked out very well. If you look at it, we were 5-0, Well, you were, but does anybody remember that opening game against the Patriots? A really bad Patriots.
Closer than we thought.
I think they need to ramp it up a little on the field, especially with the new systems and all that.
Just a little bit. Yeah, I hear you.
I think it'll be a little more arduous, and I think he understands that. He's not going to make a big deal out of it because that's going to make it seem like he was not doing his job previously. But I think they've had a good long off season, and I think they're going to have a pretty hard work preseason.
Yeah. As with a lot of things, if you fall on either end of an extreme, usually it's not a good thing. So, no one's saying you got to be Andy Reid's camp, but like you can't be
you can't do that anymore. They just don't let you. And I didn't realize, back in those days, even then when it was allowed, Andy was an outlier. Nobody did 2-a-days in pads. Mm-hmm. I remember watching that at Lehigh. I remember when T.O. did it for the first time, and people were asking him, have you ever done anything? No. Well, that's what they do here. He was that was the year when he was trying to be the good guy, and he was like, I guess that's how they do things here.
Yeah.
Like, holy,
he ran a crazy camp.
Yeah, and guys did get hurt. No doubt about it. But those days are gone. There's no Lehigh. That was really, you were working when you were at Lehigh. I mean, just trying to get back and forth. I ended up staying up there a lot because from South Jersey, getting up there on a weekday morning.
Oh my God.
It could take an hour and 40. It could take 2 hours and 40. You never knew. Yeah. And then you've got, a whole day of work and then try to get home. And Lehigh was quite a thing. It was great for the fans. It was much better for the fans than what they do now. Yeah. But the era when players are going to stay in a dorm, an old timey dorm, a Lehigh dorm, not an Alabama Crimson Tide dorm, but a Lehigh dorm.
Yeah.
It almost seems like something from another era, But
I hear you. Great
yeah.
points. Les,
Anyway, I've gone on and on long enough here.
Oh, good. Before you
talking
go,
to
just
you,
real
man.
quick, we were going to do this to end the show. So before you go, I want to get your vote. Your favorite Eagles uniform combo. Which one's going to get your vote, Les?
Right now, I really like that Kelly Green.
You're a Kelly Green.
I detest the white with the black pants. I think that is the worst
Wow,
look
really?
in the history of football.
In the history of football, I don't know. Those creamsicle jerseys are.
And I
French
want to make a
Vanilla
point
Duckers.
about the Kelly Green too, and I'm the only person that thinks this way. The Kelly
That's a
Green
lo-
that they did in 2010, which was more like the Chuck Bednarik era,
those.
give me that. I don't need to relive the Buddy Ryan era.
You mean the loser? You mean the loser uniform?
Well, they were all used.
What uniform did they win the 1960 NFL championship in again, Peter?
No, I don't mean no, Les. I don't mean the bet.
Oh, you mean the? Okay. I took
because
you the
people
wrong
bring
way.
it up all the time. They're like, I need my Buddy Ryan era. I'm like, for what?
For what?
We are grade A losers.
The most underachieving teams in the history of the franchise.
Yep.
No way around it.
Yep. No
Incredible that guy would never last 2 years. Well, he'd never be allowed to coach that way these days, but he would never last past his second year now.
Yep.
I mean, he couldn't. He was really interesting, and he was a defensive mastermind and all that, but
gonna go 2-0 against the Cowboys. It's okay.
Yeah. Well, that people really liked him because he insulted players publicly.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, try that these days.
Yeah.
See how that works.
These days. Yep. All right, Les. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a blast. If you want to plug anything, let me know if you want to plug anything.
No, I'm just PHLY. I'll figure out something to write this week. I haven't written in a while because there's not been anything going on, and I don't like to do make-work stuff, lists of things and so forth. But as we get going here, I'll be more on PHLY, and I'm hoping that I'll get a little bit of access this year,
nice.
To do some stories.
Yeah.
So we'll see, and that would help us if I got that.
Oh, absolutely.
I would not be talking about what other guys asked Nick Sirianni so much. So.
All right, Les. Well, thank you again. We will see you next week. All right, have a good one. See ya.
Bye, Les.
That's Les Bowen. Always a treat with him coming on. All right, guys. We got about roughly 13 minutes left. So he answered. He's a Kelly Green guy. I am not, but let's answer. So let's go from PY.
Uniform.
PY then Brinks, then I'll go. First, we'll do this. What's your favorite uniform combo? Even if it's not listed here. If it's not listed here, that's fine. But
I finally found it. I've been looking since they signed Saquon Barkley because I have to get a Saquon Barkley jersey.
Mm-hmm.
I finally found the one I wanted, and I just bought it over the weekend. It's
Tux probably has had his for 4 years.
The white version of the Kelly Green.
Oh yeah.
So my dream would be white pants, that shirt, and then the Kelly Green helmet.
Kelly Green helmet.
So all white with the Kelly Green helmet. That would be so sick.
Those look clean. Those look very clean. I will admit. Yeah. Those look very clean. I like that. PY, who gets the nod, or what gets the nod for best uniform combo?
It's all black, baby. It can't be any other jersey. And nothing is better than a blackout game. My favorite blackout game will always be when they beat the Giants 27-0 one year. Malcolm Jenkins had a pick six.
It was the first one, the very first one.
It was chef's kiss, baby, all day. Jake, I know you're listening. I know you hate the black unis.
Oh my God, Jake, it's horrible taste by you.
Love
the blackout. The blackout is the best. What I will say about the blackout. So I've been pro blackout uniform since they came out. That's my favorite one. I know that a lot of teams have an all black uniform nowadays. Not a lot of teams pull it off. Eagles are one of the few that pull it off. The Eagles, Ravens, obviously the Raiders, because that's part of the we pull it off. All right, so I love our blackout jerseys. What I will say is the helmet needs work because you can't tell that is a black helmet sometimes.
No.
Like you look at it, you're just like, is that any different? Like it looks the same. Like if you're gonna do an all black helmet, you gotta like go like matte black or something like that. Make it
I
matted.
need like a sexy dark black with a visor. I want everyone visored up.
Oh my
I want
god!
Jalen Hurts with like a sexy black visor section.
Imagine if they made it mandatory that every player had a black visor for a black.
I'm sorry, that would be the coolest looking thing ever. Come on, Reed Blankenship or Cooper DeJean laying someone out with the black visor. Come on, that's gonna look sleek.
That would look so fun. So yeah, I'm with you on that. So we're blackouts and then brings us with the white Kelly Greens, and I like that. Again, I don't know who hasn't heard my take on this. I think the Kelly Greens are one of the better throwback uniforms, but I also think when you talk about how the Eagles fans love them, I think they're one of the most overrated uniforms. Like just that
they literally just want to stroke Buddy Ryan. That's literally it.
It's just nostalgia. Like
what?
It's nostalgia because it's back in the day. That's it. But I agree with you. What I'm saying is, if I'm comparing the Kelly Green color to maybe not the Nike color, maybe not this one here, but the ones that Reebok used to do, which was that looked better. I like the Reebok midnight greens as a color better than the Kelly Greens. Like I think midnight green is just a better color than Kelly Green, and I know there are a lot of fans that are saying like the Kelly Greens should be the primary again. Hell no, they shouldn't be the primary.
You know what the Kelly Greens are? Like I love them. I think they're a nice looking jersey, but like people obsess over them. Obsessing over the Kelly Greens is like obsessing over the early '90s Dana Barros Sixers jerseys. Like towards the end, where Charles Barkley was like the last big guy to wear one. Like that's the type of.
Yeah. I like them. I think they're a nice throwback. Like I think they're one of the better throwback jerseys out of the whole league. So I like them. I freaking get shirts of Kelly Green. I just think it gets a little overboard. I think people go a little overboard with the Kelly Green love. And I think a lot of it is nostalgia. I know a lot of my friends who are older, they fight me on this and they're like, no, because it's just better. I'm like, I don't think it's better. I think you're just old and you like nostalgia. What I also will say that I think there are uniform combos they need to bring back. They need to do remember they used to do this early 2000s. I think they did it like for one season, maybe another one. But when they had the there's two of them. They had the midnight green shirt and then a black pants, and then they also did the black jersey with white pants. I do not, and also all green, all midnight green. I don't know why they don't use those combos anymore. Like I think
if you're gonna do what would make me care about the Kelly Green more is if I got like a cool green pants to go along with it. The Kelly Green jersey and the white pants it's just not a good look. I don't care.
Yeah, and I know that a lot of people want those all greens again. Like I think the all greens would be interesting. I just I could go on for a while and talk about like I hate how the NFL restricts the number of uniforms you could have. Like
no fun league, man. No fun league.
If it were up to me, this is part of the reason why I kind of like Oregon.
I was just about to say that. I want to be the Oregon Ducks every season.
5 billion different uniform combos, and like 90% of them are so nice. Like they're so cool. I wish
I want to quack it up.
Yeah, like can you imagine having a different uniform every week?
Season? That'd be so fun because you have no idea what you're gonna get.
Yeah, they look cool. Yeah. So I mean, Les hated the white on blacks. And I remember Pete agreed with me. I think the white on blacks look awesome. I think
they're okay. Really like I don't hate them like some of the other uniforms.
That's the worst one on that graphic.
Me and Pete like them.
I like the white on whites. I always think those are sleek.
I used to hate them But now I kind of agree. I think they've grown on me. I think the All Whites grown.
I also think it helps who you have at quarterback because he just looks awesome in them.
Yeah, I think that the worst one I think is the white on green. I think the white on green is the worst, in my opinion. I don't like that look. I think it's a boring look.
The Eagles, they have cool uniforms.
They
like
do.
You never turn on the TV on Sunday or Thursday or Monday and are like, "Wow, our uniforms are absolutely hideous."
The blue and yellow one was ugly. I hate whatever one that was.
That doesn't count.
Yeah,
it totally counts. It totally counts.
Yeah, I think that the Eagles have one of the better uniforms.
That was the Kevin Curtis 300-yard receiving game.
Exactly.
Right?
That's one of the ugliest. That's up there with the Sixers blue jersey.
Brian Westbrook and Kevin Curtis. They went off those games.
It's like it's up there with those blue ugly Sixers jerseys I never want to see for the rest of my life.
Oh, the hip hop era.
Yes,
the hip hop. Love the hip hop era.
Wait, are you talking about the blacks?
No. The blacks and whites are amazing. Love those jerseys.
You're talking about the one after that. After that,
ugly blue one.
Yeah, the blue ones. Yeah. I hear you on that. Yeah.
The Larry Hughes, Allen Iverson photo op jersey.
Yeah, those were. Yeah, I didn't like that. Well, I was gonna say something else in terms of uniforms, but and I've made this point on the show on Birds of a Feather before. I think like as nice as the Eagles uniforms can be, I'm kind of mad that they haven't updated them. I feel like they need to update their uniforms, and I'm not saying it's because they look bad. I'm saying because like I think they could make them even better. Like I think that like the helmets are awesome. Obviously, the wings on the helmets are one of the best helmets in the league. I think you could make those wings look better. I think you could also make the jersey and the logo look better. You know what I mean? So I wish I've been clamoring for a uniform upgrade for years now. I think they're long overdue, but I mean, it doesn't look like anyone. It doesn't look like one's coming anytime soon. So, that's my spiel on uniforms.
What are they going to go with in Brazil when they can't wear green?
I don't know.
Like, maybe can we have green on our helmet?
Yeah.
What
so
do we do?
My friend in Brazil says it's not as crazy as some people are making it out to be. Because she's big on like the sports knowledge down there. Like, I think they could possibly wear green. I don't know if it's like, I think they might wear another uniform to avoid any like, angering of the Brazilian fans down there. We could wear white. We could wear black, be fine.
What are the Packers going to wear?
Okay.
I know. Right?
It'll be interesting.
Their green isn't too similar to
ours.
That and the Brazil's rival.
We have to wear white. I mean, because if we're going to wear some type of green, they're going to have to wear white. Because we're the home team, so we get to decide what what we're gonna wear. So
blackout game, first week of the season. Let's go. No. Set the tone.
The blackouts always have to be tradition at home against the Giants. That is like
we are at home. Okay, we're home.
No, but I mean against the Giants, like that.
I don't give a crap about the Giants.
Always have to wear blackout against the Giants.
You can wear t-shirt and jeans against the Giants, and we'll still.
No, but you just said like your favorite game is against the Giants when we whoop them. That was the first one. That's tradition. You have to wear. They wear them twice usually. So I'm not saying you can't wear
they can wear another game against the Giants.
All I'm saying is that one of the games has to be, and I'm pretty sure they will. One of the games is always going to be Giants and Philly. Against the Giants and Philly. You have to. I'm pretty sure ever since we started that, the blackouts, I think we're undefeated against the Giants in those uniforms in Philly.
Maybe.
So, I'm pretty sure
losses in like 20 years against the Giants overall.
Yeah. We own them lately. So I don't think when's the last time they swept us in the year? I can't even remember the last time they swept us. It might have been even before 2000. Like, yep. I don't remember a time they swept us in the season. So
I think 2000 they got us 3 times.
Oh, okay.
They've won less than 10 games against us since 2000. So
you are right, Brinks. Yeah, because early 2000
they were just way better.
Yeah. It was that was around the time they were contenders because they went to the
they went to the Super Bowl. They lost.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, good job, right. But that's 24 years ago. Wow.
That was the game where Jason Sehorn like did a somersault and got a pick six.
Oh
So
my
mad.
God.
I hate
Yeah,
Jason Sehorn.
I
hate
know.
Jason
I
Sehorn.
know. All right, gentlemen. Well, we have another show in the books, and we've got one more week till we put the training camp. We're gonna get into training camp talk. I'm excited. Football is almost here. I'm pumped. We're gonna be. I know we're still gonna be rehashing a lot of conversation, but at least with these conversations, we're gonna have a little bit more to talk about because we're gonna have training camp. We're gonna have some news, and we'll see how players develop throughout training camp. Who's gonna make a name for themselves, and who's going to maybe be a surprise cut. We shall see. But we had a great show. All those listening, thank you so much. Again, another reminder: Baggio's Bread, located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. 10% off your in-store purchase if you mention A2D Radio. For myself, for Brinks, for PY, and all of us that are here at A2D, make sure you catch the rest of our shows the rest of the week, and we will see you same time, same place next week. Peace.